A dedicated chef, Jovi, who spent 11 years building her family's restaurant, is sidelined by her MBA brother Caleb and undermined as he standardizes quality for scale. After he cancels her hard-earned $850,000 corporate deal and tries to replace her signature cuisine, Jovi quits. With support from her team and suppliers, she launches her own restaurant, Jovi's Hearth, secures investment and the West Shore Partnership independently, and rises to acclaim. Her family's restaurant declines, they come begging, and Jovi stands in her power. The ending leaves an open question about forgiveness and boundaries. The plaque slips before the shock lands. Copper and glass meet hardwood in a bright, embarrassing skid, a shard catching the projector light as if it wants to argue with the slide. Riverside Ember Expansion Strategy. CEO, Caleb Morgan. The room faces the screen the way people at weddings face the vows, already decided. Dad's smile is set to legacy. Mom's hands are church-steepled with hope. Caleb's suit looks like it was ironed in a boardroom by a committee that speaks in bullet points. Jovi, Dad says, clearing his throat like a gavel. You're late. We've already started the annual meeting. Annual? They moved it forward 2 weeks without telling me. Tomorrow is the 15th anniversary. I've been stringing tangerines along wire for the centerpieces, polishing copper until it held the room like a second sun. Caleb clicks. A new slide, transition plan. The font is confident. The plan is confident. The confidence feels like theft. Mom leans, soft voice for a hard cut. Honey, we've transferred operational control to Caleb. Effective immediately. We thought the celebration would be a perfect time to announce. Surprise. Head chef. That's the consolation prize I'm handed, the word placed like a bandage on a knife wound. Head chef, when I ordered the lumber and designed the menu and negotiated fish at 3 in the morning while everyone else slept. I set my keys on the table. They land with a metallic patience. I do not look at Caleb when he sighs theatrically and says I'm too emotional about business decisions. I look at the screen. My restaurant has a pitch deck. My table has a suit. Not personal, Dad says. It's about scale. Scale has a smell. It smells like frozen lemon zest that doesn't lift, tomatoes that learn to travel instead of taste. It smells like someone else's idea of food telling mine to sit down. The meeting dismisses itself around me. We drift into the kitchen for the after-meeting performance of Normal. Kansas. Tickets chatter. Daniel, 8 years by my side, works like he listens with his hands. He looks up, reads my face, and nods once, the way a friend nods at a cliff. I tell myself I'll go to my office for the apron I forgot. That's all. A small errand to keep the night from bleeding. But the laptop is open on the desk. The West Shore Grand Hotel's logo sits on the screen like a judgment. I read the email twice, then a third time. We acknowledge your cancellation of Thursday's contract meeting. Look forward to streamlined, cost-effective alternatives. My fingers go cold. 6 months of tastings, of costings that found the exact inch where excellence and profit shake hands. Cancelled. By the man whose suit still has chalk marks at the sleeves. I don't cry. My body refuses. Instead, the room becomes narrow and useful. I tuck the apron under my arm and turn the light off with my wrist. On the way home, the city smells like rain, and I keep thinking of that copper plaque catching a shard of projector light, trying to hold the room's attention. Tomorrow, we were supposed to announce who we are. Tonight, they announced who I'm not. The keys are no longer on my ring. The door to my apartment closes with a small, definitive sound. Somewhere inside the silence, a fire starts. At 7 a.m., the delivery door breathes in the morning. Marcus is first, a hand as weathered as driftwood wrapped around a clipboard. 8 years, same knock. He smells like salt and diesel and the portion of the Pacific that remembers names. Caleb scheduled a meeting, he says. Said to bring numbers. Numbers. The closest thing to a slur I've heard in a kitchen. Eleanor arrives with coffee that tastes like earth after rain, her palms still dusted with the ghost of soil. He wants volume, she murmurs. I brought sweetness. She holds up a tomato like a jewel, scarred skin promising secrets. We file into the private room. Caleb's suit is an argument waiting to happen. The mock-up menus on the table read grilled seafood platter, where my king crab with tangerine glaze should breathe and crackle and drip memory. We're transitioning to national suppliers, Caleb says, sliding glossy folders as if he's dealing in futures. We need consistency. Consistency, Marcus repeats, patient like a tide. We've been the same boats since your dad filleted fish on a folding table. Eleanor cradles her mug. You can taste the field, you know. The tomatoes that get morning sun and afternoon shade. It's not poetry. It's sugar. This is a private meeting, Caleb says when he sees me. His smile is polite the way a lock is friendly. With my suppliers, I answer, standing behind them. My hand finds the folder, finds the omission that is also erasure. You're scrubbing the names off the dishes. We're creating scalable systems, he corrects. Dad and Mom agree. Efficiency wins. In kitchens, we count seconds and degrees and rests and turns. Efficiency is a religion here too. But ours saves the soul of a carrot instead of the margin. I don't make a speech. I look at Marcus and ask, "You'll be all right if we stop ordering?" The answer is true and careful. One boat might go silent. A captain might go home early. Eleanor mentions a field she'll have to plow under. The room tilts, not with guilt, but with clarity. This is what scale decides for. In the afternoon, someone has moved my smoker into storage and parked 3 new fryers like replacements in a rehearsal for a funeral. I catalog it like a crime scene. The expensive mandolin exiled, the precision thermometers missing, the pantry rearranged into straight lines that feel like nothing. That night, I start a ledger. Not of costs, but of knowledge, temperatures and textures, and why the zest goes in warm, why the bourbon is a breath, not a pour. I write by hand so it feels like mine in a way servers and backups never do. The leather cover warms under my forearm. The ink darkens like a reduction. When I come in the next morning, a tangerine sits at my station in the exact center of my cutting board, the way a teacher might place a test. Underneath, Daniel's handwriting. Your recipes, your vision. Some things can't be replaced, even by an MBA. I pick up the tangerine and roll it in my palm. It smells like sunlight pretending to be fruit. For the first time in 2 days, my chest unlocks. Caleb schedules the staff meeting at prep time like a dare. He clicks to a slide that erases what I've won. Lauren, steady as a metronome, risks a protest for the regulars who come for a glaze, not an algorithm. Caleb's smile hardens. We can't be held hostage to one chef's specialties. I feel my team's eyes. Not on me, on the space around me, measuring its size. A room can hold you or it can start to push. I feel the push. The worst night bleeds into the best decision. 3 scallop plates come back in a row. The sauce looks right and tastes wrong. It's sweet where it should be clever. I find the walk-in, press my forehead to steel, and choose not to weep. Steel doesn't need my salt. It has its own. When I step out, Dad and Caleb are framed in the doorway like a correction. We need to talk about tonight's menu, Dad says evenly. Caleb has concerns. My preparations won West Shore's mouth, I say, not looking up. The mouth doesn't forget. Jovi, Dad says, except that Caleb's in charge. This is business, not personal. Food is the most personal thing. We let it in. We become it. I untie my apron. We don't trade words. We trade absolutes. We don't share values, I say. You see food as a product. I see people. Caleb opens his mouth to fix me. I walk out instead. It takes 10 steps to reach the door. On the 6th, Daniel moves. On the 8th, 3 more aprons leave their hooks like white flags reversed. On the 10th, the kitchen exhales, a long release held too long. Outside, the city air is colder than the walk-in and kinder. My phone vibrates like it's learning a new language. Eleanor, wherever you land, your special orders land too. Marcus, 2 boats are yours if you want them. Dinner with a certain investor tomorrow. Thought of you. Lauren, I can switch to nights at a coffee bar until you open. Just say. By morning, the ache becomes a schematic. I pull a business card from a pile I judged sentimental and maybe petty. Marion Wells, restaurant space realtor. The Pearl District. Foot traffic I can see even with my eyes closed. I call West Shore too, not to plead, but to state a fact. If you want what you tasted, meet me privately. Anthony, the culinary director, agrees in a voice that tastes like curiosity. Jason Mercer at Portland First Capital drinks my pitch like a good burgundy, soft nods, one raised brow at my projections, a smile when I speak in systems without surrendering soul. Most chefs talk ingredients, he says. You talk relationships. Ingredients are people, just slower to text back, I say, and he laughs in a way bankers aren't famous for. He signs. The lease signs. The sun signs, pouring through windows onto reclaimed wood that looks like it remembers other hands. We hold copper letters against brick to measure a name in space. Jovi's hearth. It hums when I say it aloud. Then the email comes. West Shore's header. We'd like to meet regarding an exclusive partnership with Chef Jovi. My hand shakes once, then steadies. I think of Caleb's deck slide titled Consistency and consider how steady can be a cage when it is not tethered to care. At night, I dream a simple dream, a table of 12 watching fire and knives and stories. No font. No chalk marks. A thing that resists being flattened. I wake hungry, the good kind. The first day in the empty space tastes like possibility and drywall. We chalk grid lines on the floor for the chef's counter, tape the flow of heat and people and plates. The hood goes in next week. A wood-fired oven will occupy the corner like a hearth ancestor. Daniel arrives with a toolbox and a grin that looks like he slept for once. I found the perfect past shelf, he says. It doesn't wobble. We make coffee strong enough to argue. While we drink, the phone buzzes and does not stop. Press. A line cook from a rival who wants in. A farmer with winter squash that eats the sun. A sommelier who's been waiting to escape a list full of predictable choices. We say yes to what fits the story, no to what needs us to be something else. Discipline feels like freedom when you finally choose yourself. At night, I practice in an apron that picks up sawdust and pride. I adjust the tangerine glaze for the new stove's temperament. Copper pot, low flame, the sweet lifted with acid that knows when to leave, bourbon whispering smoke instead of shouting. I taste, check the ledger I started the night I quit, and write a small correction in the margin. Rest glaze 1 minute longer. It deepens like rain in warm soil. News from Riverside lands like inevitable weather. Portland Plate publishes, gently, like a doctor who has to tell a truth. Has Riverside Ember lost its flame? Lauren texts that Caleb blamed the back of house execution. Eleanor stops answering his calls entirely. Marcus keeps appointments with me instead. Mom's voicemails change tone. The first two perform control. The third trembles. Honey, the West Shore dinner is next week. We need you. The family needs you. I set the phone face down. It pulses against the wood like a heartbeat I cannot answer yet. When Anthony from West Shore walks into my half-built dining room, he runs a hand along the brick and nods at the copper letters resting on sawhorses. This feels like a place where food happens. We sit on overturned milk crates for the tasting. I serve 5 courses on mismatched plates. He doesn't care. He eats like a person, not a contract. He asks about scale. I answer with systems that preserve spirit, a prep map for seasonality, a supplier calendar that can bend without breaking, training that teaches taste, not just timing. He smiles at the ledger when I show the page with bourbon's whisper. You document intuition, he says. That's rare. We shake hands, and then we don't let go for a second too long. It is not romance. It is recognition. The letter of intent arrives the next day with a number that begins to rewrite my family's math. When my parents arrive at the space, the dust motes look like confetti in late sun. Dad's smile is a mask that tires his face. Equal partnership, he offers, with us retaining final decision authority for continuity. The old script. I place my business plan on the makeshift desk like a dish that explains itself. I already signed, I say. Investors, lease, West Shore. It's done. Mom's fingers find her necklace and worry it like beads. Caleb's composure cracks in the center first, then slides to the edges. We can't replicate your dishes, he says, voice thin. It is not a question. It is the first true thing I've heard him say in months. Because you tried to replicate the result, I answer, without respecting the relationships. In the quiet after they leave, the copper letters gleam. The room feels like it has chosen a side. Soft opening. 2 words that imply hush. We are anything but. The kitchen sings in heat and muscle and practiced grace. Daniel moves like a conductor who remembers peeling potatoes. Zoe, my apprentice, carries a sauce like it's an heirloom. Critics anchor the corners. Regulars I fed anniversaries to clutch menus and smile like they've found a lost street. The chef's counter holds 12 faces that watch the fire and believe in it. I plate the king crab with tangerine glaze, watch the reduction nap the meat as if the sauce were deciding to belong. The aroma rises. Someone at the counter closes their eyes, as if listening to a song they forgot was theirs. Near closing, a hush falls where it has no reason to. My mother sits alone at a small table, the glaze bright on the plate like a memory that refused to dull. She looks smaller without the house around her. We meet each other's eyes across the room, and the air between us stops pretending to be neutral. I walk over with water because I don't know another way to carry a peace offering. She touches the edge of the plate. It tastes like before, she says, voice level, hands unsteady. Before the meetings. Before the plans. It tastes like now, I answer gently. It tastes like what I chose. She nods. There is a quiet she wears for a few seconds that is not manipulation, not performance. It is grief. Maybe for her story of the future. Maybe for the way control feels like safety until it isn't. Your father is scared, she says. We both are. I was too, I admit. Being scared didn't make me wrong. She smiles without joy. No. It made you brave. The check sits under a clean fold. She leaves a note instead of a tip. I was wrong about scale. It's not enough. It's a beginning. 2 nights later, West Shore's executive dinner happens in my space, not theirs. Anthony stands to welcome his table. The suits look less like verdicts here, more like guests. I serve the sequence like an argument that refuses to raise its voice. The crab. The cedar. The huckleberry reduction that tastes like late summer deciding to linger. Between courses, I talk briefly about Marcus's boats and Eleanor's field that gets morning sun and afternoon shade. I keep it short. The food says the rest. At course 4, a woman in a slate dress sets down her fork and sighs, relieved. It's so rare, she says, to taste decisions. The letter of intent becomes a contract the week after. The number doesn't feel like revenge when I sign. It feels like oxygen. It feels like a kitchen with good knives. It feels like a ledger that keeps making room. That same day, Riverside files for a bridge loan. I read the notice twice to be certain I am not hungry for their hurt. I am not. I am hungry for the service tonight, and the way butter behaves when it's asked instead of commanded. When I mount the copper sign over the door, the light catches the letters. Jovi's hearth. The street pauses. A stranger takes a picture. Inside, my team applauds with their hands still holding work. We open the door. 6 months teach me that success hums, it doesn't shout. It hums in the space between the stove and the pass when a dish is right and the plate returns empty. It hums in a staff meal eaten at the table that belongs to us because we made it so. The fall menu turns like trees. We trade rosemary for thyme in one sauce because Zoe argues for it with a reason that tastes true. I ask her why and watch her think out loud. This is what I wanted from the beginning, not help, but inheritance. She laughs at her own metaphor, and I do not correct her. National press arrives like weather we prepared for without checking the forecast. Booking stack. The American Culinary Federation envelope sits heavy in my mailbox, then light in my hands when we hear our name called. Restaurant of the Year feels like a sentence that finishes itself. On stage, the plaque does not slip. I thank by name every person who turned heat into hospitality. Daniel, whose steadiness is a map. Marcus, whose boats give us mornings. Eleanor, whose fields braid our seasons into flavor. The applause is a sound that respects work. I tell them success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. The line leaves my mouth warm and lands in the room true. Back in my office, 5 expansion offers lean against a ceramic bowl of tangerines. A judge's invitation for the regional competition waits under them, patient as paper. Grandpa's diner photo watches me from a frame where the glass has a crack in the corner that doesn't matter. He is younger than I am now, sleeves rolled, grinning like a conspiracy. The knock at the door is hesitant in a way I've never heard from him. Caleb steps in with a resume. Christmas softened our edges in conversation, but didn't erase the burn marks. He sits when I gesture, his suit a little less certain, his eyes more human than any spreadsheet. I've been learning, he says. He tells me about a mentorship program he joined, about shadowing a butcher at 5 a.m., about a farmer who told him he'd never tasted a tomato before last month. He says the words, "I'm sorry," slowly, as if they have weight, and maybe they finally do. I have an opening, I say. Operations Director. Boundaries built into the job description like handrails. It comes with a probation period and a list. I slide a paper across to him. Supplier relationships are sacred. Menus bend with seasons, not sales. KPIs must include guest delight and staff retention. No changes without tasting. He reads. He doesn't argue. I want to learn to do this your way, he says. Our way, I correct, because power shared with care is not control, it's chorus. If you earn it. We shake hands, not like siblings, not like enemies, but like people who might yet build something honest if the work is real and the respect is daily. Later, when the dining room is quiet and the last table's laughter has moved to the sidewalk, I step to the chef's counter and rest my palms on the wood. The copper sign out front has warmed to the idea of us. The ledger waits on the pass, open to a fresh page. I write one sentence in small, neat print. Keep the flame human. The phone buzzes. A text from Mom, a photo of her first attempt at the huckleberry reduction, captioned, "Too tart." Advice? I send back a tip and a heart. We are not fixed. We are mending. The team gathers for staff meal. Daniel raises a glass. To building the thing that wasn't for sale. We drink. The room hums. Somewhere, a captain ties a knot for morning. Somewhere, a field holds its breath for frost. In here, the hearth holds steady, and the work is its own reward. Sometimes the biggest favor someone can do is underestimate you. It frees your hands to make the life that fits them.